The book is officially shut on the Nashville Predators 2025-2026 season as players and staff shared their thoughts on what this year was and what could lie ahead.
You're Locked On Predators, your daily podcast on the Nashville Predators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everyone? I'm Jack Williams. On Monday, the Nashville Predators shared their final thoughts on a chaotic season, starting as the worst team in the NHL and finishing 3 points outside of a playoff spot. While some fans want this team to have a complete teardown in the offseason, moving in with a new general manager, the Predators had an opposite view moving forward. That being, this team still wants to get to the playoffs. This team still wants to work with this current core that they have. Whether or not that message is coming from the current management that's in place or from the team itself, the shared sentiment that we heard as the media is this team wants to move forward with the group that they have, and they feel like they are close to. Now, I understand this is a little dated. This did happen on Monday. However, I wanted to give you guys an episode to where I was getting out as much information as I could pick out the best pieces of information we heard from the segment. I wasn't just talking to you guys an hour straight from what we heard from media availability. I also wasn't feeling too great yesterday, so I wanted to give you all 110% energy on this episode, not acting fatigued or anything like that. Excuse me. You can tell I still have a little bit of that left over here. But I wanted to break it down for you, get some really good segments, get some really good commentary going, and just really talk about this with y'all and not be exhausted and kind of falling through the episode like I would have been the day that it happened. But this is coming out a little bit later, but we'll have some more in-depth conversation with it just as well and completely. But the big thing that we took away from this and just media in general is this team is still very much involved in the current core. It wants to be involved in the current core, and a lot of these guys still want to stay, feel this out, and see where the team's going to go. No matter who's saying it at the end of the day, players and coaches, we wholeheartedly agreed on. And I know there's going to be all conversation of, well, this is coming from Barry Trotz, who's on the way out. And of course he's going to say this stuff. And Andrew Brunette is, of course, going to say this stuff because he's heading out, because everyone wants him fired. He needs to be fired. He has an awful year, blah, 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 blah. We'll hear that stuff continuously. But we heard this from players all down the line, from, star players to young guys to guys that you'd be thinking they might be a little bit out the door wanting to go to different teams, to guys that have their feet planted in Nashville. You heard it from everybody that this team wants to move forward with what they have right now, and that whether they're young or old, they want to be a part of this. They feel like they're close. That was something we heard up and down just about from everyone, of that this group felt like they were close. They felt like they were right there. Chop it whatever way you want it to up, whether it be coming from Barry Trotz or be the mentality or the propaganda, whatever you want to say. This is something that we heard from every single player that spoke on Monday. So whatever you want to mix it up as, I'm just saying this is what everybody said. This is something consistently that we heard from everybody on this team. And we'll break it down a little bit more. It was said in different ways. There were some words and phrases you could pick up on that would mean one thing more than another. Some of them were completely direct, but I mean, overall, what we heard was a shared sentiment that this group still wants to get it done next year, is extremely disappointed with the way things had ended this year, and is still committed to this completely. Didn't really get, some of the passing mentalities that we have felt from some of these guys throughout the entire season, i.e. towards the end when we talk about Stamkos and Jonathan Marchessault, two guys who have hinted at times that they may not want to be here. They may be looking towards something else. They're fully committed to what was happening in Nashville at the time, but saying how their game hasn't been great and how, they might have been promised something in coming to Nashville and it hadn't panned out there. Heard a kind of different mentality from those two, and that's why we've saved it for the end here. But Roman Josi, one of the first guys to speak, captain, of course, said we shouldn't be here. We should be in the playoffs. That was the big thing, saying like this moment is kind of hard to take in because obviously, it's good to look back at the effort that we put in to get here. But at the end of the day, this shouldn't be happening right now. We shouldn't be having to wrap up our season right now at the end of April, in the middle of April, and not wanting to be there really, and just wanting playoff hockey consistently. They want to come back. He said he wants to come back and do everything they can to make the playoffs. The effort is there to come back, see what went wrong this season, get off to a better start. That was the other thing that we heard from top to bottom from this group is that they need to get off to a better start completely. Barry Trotz talked a little bit about how it was mentally hard to come back from this as well. Andrew Brunette commended the effort, but it says it has to change, and he says it's going to change next year, and we'll talk more about Andrew Brunette in the second segment here. But from Roman Josi, he says he wants to come back and help this team do what it can to get to the playoffs, and a lot of time taking this summer to reflect on what happened this year and reflect on how he can become a better player. A lot of these guys talked about reflections. Marchessault even went as far as talking about looking about himself in the mirror, and we'll talk about that later on. But just reflecting on how they can offer more to this team and what they can do better and what can they do to make sure that this team gets that extra boost to get into the postseason year. Roman Josi did talk a little bit about his health as well, which is an important topic. It's been a big topic this year with the POTS diagnosis in the offseason, still being able to come back just in time and not skipping a beat when it comes to training camp and being right there on day one. Suffering was from some injuries a little bit more in the season here. But then again, adding that element, keeping that element of his game where he has this offensive flair to his game. He's able to score consistently. He's able to defend so well. And just he has a depth and flux to his game that, you might see be coming off a little bit more in older guys like this. And he talked a lot about that. And just, with his health in the offseason and injuries and all that kind of stuff, he did make a lot of changes when it came to just treating himself better. And it impacted him better on the ice as well. He added a neck guard to his game a little bit more. And he said, a lot of this stuff helped him stay healthier and keep his game consistent in general, and really changed a lot of his own life, not just on the ice, but off the ice as well. Another guy that talked a lot that had some good points to make too was Ryan O'Reilly. Again, this is a guy that's had an interesting mentality throughout the year, and that he has taken a lot of the burden this year, whether it was on him that night or whether it was not on him that night. Talking about individual games here, most nights when the Predators were loose, he was taking all the blame and all the burden here. So much so that he made national headlines, I believe, back in November, and then walked back his own comments, taking the burden for that, calling himself childish and that too. But a guy that has really stepped up as a leader this year. Really, he's been a leader consistently as his time here has been here too, but knowing a younger core's coming in, just, really investing into that a lot more. And Barry Trotz even talked about it a little bit as well. It's just guys like O'Reilly and Forsberg took a really big role this year in making these young guys comfortable and not isolating them from the rest of the group. And, with isolation in younger guys, it doesn't come through and just they're coming to the team and they're instantly putting them in the corner and instantly putting them in another locker room, wherever you want to call it. It happens naturally, and just there's such a click with these older guys throughout their time with a team that these younger guys come in and they could get a little bit quieter. They could feel a little distant. But Ryan O'Reilly and Philip Forsberg made a very cohesive effort to show that they're part of this team, like even going out to lunch with these guys. I don't know if any of y'all have been to practice or stayed a little bit longer, but Ryan O'Reilly is kind of playing, teacher out there, and all these young guys are out there doing drills after practice, and Ryan O'Reilly's running that a little bit more. That's why he's been the last one off the ice in most practices. And he's played a massive leadership role this year, and Barry Trotz commended that, and just how much that helps in getting these rookies acclimated, these younger guys acclimated in, and just having good starts to the year. We can look up and down the list and just talk about the impact that Matthew Wood had. Adam Wilsby, not amazing, but you have to take into consideration that this was his rookie season, but you had young guys coming up too. You have Brady Martin playing at the beginning of the year. Ozzy Weisblatt was kind of a regular on this roster too. Reed Schaefer. Zach LaRue came up a little bit more too towards the end of the year as well. Got to see Cole O'Hara at the end of the year. You got to feel for these guys, and a lot of them had an opportunity to leave their impact, especially Matthew Wood. Had a massive, massive year this year, and I don't know how many people expected him to put up the point total that he did. But Ryan O'Reilly basically talked about this team, took a big step forward. They plan on getting back into the playoffs and just getting better in the offseason. And this is where the wording becomes interesting with this. He said, as of right now, I want to be here. As of right now, I want to be here. As of right now, the goal is to get this team to the playoffs or get to the playoffs, using as of right now, and adding the right pieces to the mix and hoping he wants to be with this group and making things happen. Because you kind of revisit that comment and hearing as of right now, and you're like, as of right now, that's a little bit more open-ended, but it was kind of hammered a little bit down there. And just, if you want to think of it as an analogy, it was kind of a nail that was loose. A question followed up. I don't know who asked it, but that hammered in just his mentality. He says he wants to stay in Nashville and he wants to see how things shake out moving forward here. And once again, echoed that sentiment that Barry Trotz said he said for verbatim from Ryan O'Reilly's mouth, we're not too far. We're close. Under that same umbrella, this group does feel like we're close. And you're going to hear it. Roman Yossi said this as well, that how they feel like they're a close group right now. You're going to see it later on. There are other players that said this too. But again, going to that comment of as of right now, and then going into wanting to stay here and wanting to see how things shake out, it kind of ensures a little bit more that Ryan O'Reilly wants to be here. Obviously, you want to leave things open-ended, especially when you have your contract coming up that is expiring next season. And seeing how a new general manager is going to handle that and how early an offer is going to be made, when are those conversations going to start? Obviously not going to start now with Barry Trotz, but overall, a shared mentality that he wants to be here still. He wants to be a part of this group, this goal. And y'all, I cannot say this enough of just how critical this man is to this team's effort to want to just be successful and want this team to grow and leading the youth in and leading the future in. He is so massive, as I mentioned, with just the groups and just working with these younger guys. He was the most consistent player this entire season with he was good from start to finish. He offered so much from start to finish. And again, we've seen things of when it was going around that he'd be traded or him going to another team that, he would be a great third, fourth line center, really strong third line center. This guy was anchoring the first line throughout the entire year through the thick and thin. This was a guy that's really stayed with it. And just saying, and this is my opinion too, it's just my opinion, having him exiled or traded or whatever you want to call it in the offseason or whatever would be detrimental to this group. And I'm not just talking about the veterans here now. It'd be detrimental to the young guys here too. And he's a lot of this glue for this team, whether you like it or not, whether you want to see him gone or not, whether or not it's about cap hits and what so not. He's very important to what the Predators do here. And then finally, some comments from Trotz. And you can read these how they are. I mean, basically, he's kind of recapping the season a little bit more. He did talk a lot about next year, and he is going to be coming on as an advising role, so he'll still be here in some capacity. Obviously, not the capacity as general manager, but he's talked about how this group's been really tight. They played hard till the end, and they just need a better start to the year completely. I mean, that's been the issue these past two seasons, and even if we want to go into the more finer details of this, that's been the issue with all these games. They cannot play first period to start for the life of them. So Barry Trotz did address a comment that was made by Frank Saravelli back in November. And I know in the local media, everyone was kind of like, this doesn't make any sense, especially what we've been seeing in practice and hearing from players and stuff like that didn't make sense. Frank Saravelli said there was a toxic environment in the team, and that really stuck with Barry Trotz because he's addressed this comment multiple times, and he made that comment again. He addressed it again, saying there was a media member that made a comment saying that there's a toxic environment. It's like, if this is a toxic environment, I want to see more of this because this group is as close as I ever could expected. He's expecting a lot of players to return next year, improve in all different areas. The big thing that really stuck out to me, he said the veterans players are culture and core. Younger players need to be taking on a bigger load this year. So you got the rookie season out of the way. You got the young part of their season out of the way this year for a lot of guys. Now the next step is to adjust into being regulars on this roster, being the role players that they are, and just find ways to continue supplementing these veterans and no longer look like these rookies, just look like regular guys in the league, possibly, all-star stars in the league here, but just, shake off the rookie part of your game. You have that season under your belt. Now time to step up into a bigger role. And he also said, if we get into the playoffs, we're going to be in there for a while. I'll mention that this season was one of complex, just talking about the start and how bad it was versus November through the rest of it, how they were able to turn things around, get into a playoff position. So the bricks of the foundation are being laid. And to kind of wrap this up here, collectively, a lot of the players were right there, said that they were right here. This was just him leading out the comments saying that in his exit interviews, they said the same exact thing of just they feel like they are right here. And we heard that from the players and just consistency. That's what I'm saying. That's what we heard consistently across the board. And just they said they are right there. They feel like they're close. And that's why they're so disappointed in being here now, is they felt like they were close. But some good stuff just on this topic up and down the line. I mean, I understand, and from what I've been seeing on Twitter and what's so not, of just well, they're just playing for mediocrity and they should be throwing all this out and blah, 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 blah. Or I think I saw one comment. They're like, this is a correction. This is what management's saying, the current management, and not what the players. This is what we heard from the players directly. Some of them did address saying, well, this is what we heard from, but the majority of all of them said this and expressed a mentality you want to be here. And we'll hammer it a little bit more away in the final segment because it's two guys that I don't know if you would expect them to make those sort of comments like that, judging by the way their seasons had gone and what they were brought to be here as. Kind of were along those same lines of, hey, we want to work towards it. So, I mean, at the end of the day, this group, whether you like it or not, they said it to us. This group wants to work towards it. This group wants to be in the playoffs next year. They don't think they're going to be burning everything down. Nothing like that. So don't expect that. Honestly, that's what we got from the players. That is from the players and Barry Trotz. Andrew Brunette talked about it a little bit too. But speaking of Andrew Brunette, we're going to talk about his future coming up. And that was a comment. That was a topic that was addressed here. And the brave reporters that were able to ask those questions and wanted to ask those questions about Andrew Brunette and what's going on with the new general manager coming in, because Barry Trotz has been a big Andrew Brunette guy. We will talk more about Andrew Brunette's future and the comments that were made towards that. That'll be coming up right after the break. ED is way more common than most guys think. Millions of guys deal with it at some point. And that's exactly why HIMS offers a straightforward way to handle it. HIMS connects you with a licensed healthcare providers online, giving you access to legitimate ED treatment options from the comfort of your home. No awkward appointments, no pharmacy lines, just a straightforward process that makes it easier to take care of yourself. The whole process is simple. You can just complete a quick online intake and a provider reviews your information. If treatment is right for you, it ships directly to your door in discreet packaging, which makes the whole experience feel private and stress-free. They also offer options like Sildenafil, a generic for Viagra at a fraction of the cost, plus other treatments so you can find what works best for you. It's straightforward, transparent, and designed to make getting care feel easy. To get simple online access to personalized, affordable care for ED, hair loss, weight loss, and more, visit hims.com/lockedonnhl. That's hims.com/lockedonnhl for your free online visit. hims.com/lockedonnhl. Prescription required. See website for details and important safety information. Sildenafil is a generic version of Viagra. Viagra is a registered trademark of Vistrus, specifically LLC, Specialty LLC. HIMS is not affiliated with or endorsed by Vitrus. The NBA playoffs are here, where every possession matters, every matchup is magnified, and every game can swing a series. And right now, FanDuel is giving new customers a great way to get in on the action. Here's what I like about it. You can bet just $5 to get $250 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. The app makes it easy to follow the action with player stats, trends, matchups all in one place. And during the playoffs, the extra insight really matters when you're looking at stars, role players, and key moments. It just makes the entire playoff experience more engaging from start to finish. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. FanDuel, play your game. So one of the hot button topics that has just remained throughout this entire season, whether or not this team is playing well or not, has been if Andrew Brunette's going to be here, if Andrew Brunette should not be here right now, or if he should have been gone already, and just his stance with the team. And a few players are asked about it. Brunette was asked about it, and we will go into that here. And Roman Josi was the first to talk about it. He said, we love Bruno. He's done an amazing job to get this out of this, and just commending the effort to turn everything around this year. You know, it was a slow start, but the big thing that we heard from him all the season, and we thought he was crazy for a while, and it didn't really make sense, and it felt like he was going to be fired, was this team was losing games consistently. And the big thing he kept saying was, I like our game. I like our game. I like our game. I'm like, how can you like your game? You guys have lost. You're 6-12 right now, or whatever it was in November, and you're sitting at the bottom of the league. How can you like your game right now? And he said it at one point of the year too. He's like, honestly, like, I'm happy that these guys believed in me, because they probably thought I was crazy at one point, and just talking about how I believe in this game. We kept losing over and over again. But I mean, Roman Yossi talked about it and said they did an amazing job of turning things around. Barry Trotz made a broad comment here that stood out a little bit more. He said this group, and that the front office, him and his associate GMs, never felt like they were making a wrong decision because the group was coming together to make a cohesive, well thought out decision. So he never thought throughout his entire time this year that this group, the front office, did not make a wrong decision. Leave with that what you will. And then Brunette, when asked about kind of what the stance was this year with the team, he said, we're not a perfect group, but we're as tight of a group as we can be. The one thing that he said that you can hang your hat on last year, especially after last season, he didn't really want to talk about last season, but is that they never gave up. And that continued into this year of the mentality of just staying with it. And the results eventually came. Hey, who's to say last season, 24-25, if it was a like baseball where they play 100 and something games. If it was like that, maybe the Predators would have won the final month of the year. Maybe it just took a specific amount of games for the Predators to get there. Who knows? But one of the analogies that he had used throughout the entire presser here, and that we had seen on the back end of all the Predator stuff into the locker room, is there's oars, there's boats, there's all this nautical stuff everywhere. And, I was talking to Nick Keyser about it. I'm like, why is all this stuff around? And it's a part of this team's mentality and a lot of word motivation, whatever you want to call it, that Brunette used this year of just boats and paddling in the same direction and getting on the boat and making sure we're navigating through choppy waters. And if we're getting thrown off, pulling them back on and just staying with it. That was the whole mentality and the win the week mentality that came in from Barry Trotz in November after the global series. And the shared belief that this team feels like they're not far off, and from what Andrew Brunette got and told us was they're excited about moving forward. And the older guys feel excited in the same way as well. Now, going into what you guys have been waiting for, the detail about his career and his time in Nashville, he was asked about the security of his job with a new general manager coming in. As we've mentioned too, and I don't know if this was insinuated or not, but Barry Trotz has been a big cheerleader of Andrew Brunette. He brought him on. This was a guy that was with the Predators as a player and gave him a lot of chances. Knew he was a young guy. There was all the talk of after that bad season last year that he was going to get fired then. And then there was the break after the global series. If he was going to get fired then, he stayed with Brunette this entire time. Well, now Barry Trotz is on the way out and you have a new head, new eyes coming into this team, looking at it being like, all right, show me that you can win, because I don't have this history. I don't have this emotional attachment with you that Barry Trotz might have. And Andrew Brunette said, I've approached it the same way I've always approached it. I'm the coach here today. I'm proud of the work that we are doing, and I'm going to keep coaching until someone tells me not to. Basically just saying, I'm going to work hard at it. I'm going to continue doing what I've been doing, finding ways to improve myself until someone says, hey, you can't do this anymore. He said he's proud of the group and is working hard, but those are not his decisions. And he knows, and this might be a little refreshing to hear, and just knowing that Andrew Brunette is aware that he's not indestructible or anything like that. He knows that he is, this job isn't not fully secure. If this team starts losing, he knows that, he could be yanked out the door anytime. And he says, he's like, I'm aware. I was like, I'm just going to keep working hard and keep doing what I do until someone tells me not to. And he knows that decision is now all out of his hands. He said his decisions are that he can be the best that he can be, and just working towards that. And I know that's corny and all that, but I mean, he keeps it real. I mean, he's saying, I'm just going to keep working hard and doing what I'm doing. And, until someone tells me to stop. He said he's still learning as a coach. I mean, he's a very young coach. This is just his third season as a head coach here. And he got a lot of help from Barry Trotz last year. Barry Trotz was at practices helping out as well and ushering Andrew Brunette in here. Again, Barry Trotz is a massive cheerleader for Andrew Brunette here. You don't see other GMs getting on the ice and helping out during practices or guiding the team like this at all for a first-year head coach. I mean, it is, I wouldn't say it's abnormal, but something you really don't see a lot. And he said he was thankful that Barry Trotz was there to help him. And he's always believed that he can get better even as a player. This is a final comment he made here that might, I don't know if he ends up getting fired. This might be a comment that you could revisit a little bit more. He said this in preference in relation to his career. And he said working hard when he was in his late 30s or early 40s, even though that the end is coming, you can still get better. Take of that what you will. And that he's going to keep working hard no matter what the situation was in order to improve. And then Barry Trotz hammered down on just how well the coaching staff did this year of just keeping the team together, how close they were, and operating out of a bad place and getting the team out of a really bad situation. Mentioned a little bit about the schedule here and how well the team and the coaching staff handled how compressed the schedule was this year, narrowing down even to the sleep schedules and stuff, and just making sure this team was on and staying sharp. And, players did complain about the schedule and how with the compression due to the Olympics, and then the year before with the Four Nations face-off, that they didn't have a lot of practice time. They didn't have a lot of downtime. There wasn't really a lot of reset time, and Barry Trotz commended this group, saying they did a good job of handling this as well. Completely said, too, that the beginning of the year needs to change. As we've mentioned before, this team started off bad. This is coming from Barry Trotz, but he believed in the coaching staff the whole time and knew the team was going to get out of it, as the coaching staff had the faith in the players and vice versa. And there's a shared belief with the squad, and they finally got out of it. And he said, again, this is another comment he makes, and he makes a few interesting comments in here. He's very strategic about the way he talks and saying you can make brass decisions or well thought out decisions. And that goes under the same common category of never felt like this management group made a wrong decision this year. He's confident with what the decisions he made this year. He's confident with what was or wasn't said. Everything that had happened this year, he is confident standing. He's standing on business here completely on the way out. And this was another comment saying you can make brash decisions or well thought out ones. And then finally, just revisited that whole winning the week mentality. And that was the discussion that was made around mid-November after the global series, time when everyone thought Andrew Brunette was going to be fired. Barry Trotz talked to the team and said, win the week. And that's exactly what they intended to do. And it's up to perception how well they did that. But kind of summarizing this part of it a little bit more, Barry Trotz seems very confident that Andrew Brunette doesn't seem like he's going anywhere. Andrew Brunette seems very confident that he's going to be here and he's focused towards next season, working towards next season. Obviously, Barry Trotz is on the way out, so his comments about Andrew Brunette staying only go so far. As for Brunette, it doesn't really seem like he's nervous, and he's confident with the group. It seems like the players like he's here, but that's the biggest thing you could take away from it, is that everyone seems very confident, steady, and I think the big thing you can take away from this is Brunette knows he's not untouchable, and he understands that I'm going to coach. I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing until someone tells me to stop. So, I mean, this man's going to keep working at it until someone yanks him out, and that's the big thing to take away from it as well. But in our last segment, I want to talk about two guys that had, in my opinion, were the loudest in the room, and had really interesting things to say about this group and about themselves in the team. That is Steven Stamkos and Jonathan Marchessault. We will chat about what they had to say coming up right after the break. If you got a sweet tooth like I do, you know how tough it is to find that perfect treat without all the sugar. That's why Cotton Candy 5-Hour Energy Shot brings that nostalgic flavor back in a whole new way. This is a cotton candy taste that you will remember with a tasty caffeine boost and zero sugar. It's a quick, easy way to satisfy my sweet craving while keeping things simple and on the go. I've always loved cotton candy, but I can't be eating sweets all day. This is the perfect alternative. The flavor really does bring back that throwback fruity vanilla vibe, and it's surprisingly smooth. I like how convenient it is too. Just a small portable shot I can grab whenever I need a little pick-me-up. It's become my go-to whenever I want something sweet without going overboard. Bring the sweetness with Cotton Candy 5-Hour Energy Shots. Available online now at 5hourenergyjack.com or on Amazon. Thank you for making Locked On Predators your first listen of the day. And thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. You already live your team every day. Now take it up a level and go ad-free. Join the Everydayer Club today and get Locked On Predators with no interruptions, members-only Discord access, and more. All for just $5 a month or $50 a year. If you guys are interested, go to lockedonpredators.supercast.com or check the link in the show notes to learn more. So, we're getting really close to the half-hour point. We're like right there. But, want to very quickly talk about Stamkos and Marchessault and what they really had to say. And we'll talk about Stamkos first here. And just, I think towards the end of the season here, it was interesting to hear this shift up in what he had to say. Because in the second to last game of the season here, he was really mad in saying, we failed again. I was essentially promised playoffs when I signed here. We haven't had it yet. And just really echoing a mentality of disappointment and kind of saying, I don't know if I'm going to be here. I don't know if I really want to be there. Didn't say that directly, but kind of hinted at it a little bit more. But everything's so strategic in these now, and just what things are said, the way things are said, down to the word. You can pick things apart completely, and they can be what you're exactly thinking. They could be another thing. Players could also just be saying it this way to create an illusion of how they feel and what's not. But Steven Stamkos did have a lot of good things to say, and just, kind of turn things around. Said he's excited for next year. He wants to work towards it with this team, and just being like, hey, do you want to be here? And he's like, yeah, I do. I want to work towards it with this group. I want to be a part of just the opportunity to just, turn things around. The biggest thing that he said that I kind of took away was that he was asked about the new management mentality and what that's going to be coming in, and kind of shut down the whole conversation about a full rebuild and just burning it all down. He said it doesn't seem like there's going to be a full rebuild with this management team or whatever's coming in, what's on that. Even if a new manager, new GM comes in, it seems like we're going to be on the same mentality more, and just wanting to work towards it as well, and kind of shut that down. And he did mention too, it's completely fine for us to be upset, to be PO'd as well, because we missed the playoffs and we shouldn't be here. But again, he also used that same phrase. He feels like they're close, and was asked about his time. He's won 2 Stanley Cups with Tampa Bay. He's gone on multiple playoff runs, been to the Stanley Cup final, I believe 4 times. Yeah. On his time with Tampa Bay, and was asked about, how does this compare? Does this feel close to that? And he said, yeah. And he elaborated about it. It's like, yeah, this is a team that does feel close to it. You have young guys coming up, working towards it. And again, just kind of switched up the mentality a little bit more of a guy that we heard after the San Jose loss being like, we failed. I came here for playoffs. That's not happening too. I want to work with this group. I want to stay here and continue to do this. And the vision still stays the same with this management group coming in, and staying positive about that. So that was the biggest things that we took away from Steven Stamkos. Had a really good media availability. So did Jonathan Marchessault, who, as we know, had a really bad year this year, and just he couldn't get it clicking really at all this entire season. He's coming off of a year in Nashville where he was decent, and then the year before in Vegas where he led the Golden Knights I believe, in points that year. And the year prior, he had won the Conn Smythe. And I mean, just a substantial fall off. And he was open about that. He was straightforward about that and did not hold back, and said, I was in a bad mindset this year. I'm usually a pretty positive guy, and I could not get it going. And that affected my game on the ice. It was hard for me to get going and stay positive about my game. Nothing was really going right for me. And mentioned that I want to be contributor to this team and helping this team get to the playoffs. Before, and also saying too, of kind of even talking about whether or not, and he didn't talk about this at all, but again, the whole idea of alluding and what people say of just, if I continue playing like this, I'm not helping any team get to the playoffs. And he mentioned too, he does have experience doing this. I mean, he got to the Stanley Cup final in his first year with the Golden Knights, the first year as a team in 2018, won the Stanley Cup in 2023. This is a guy that does have a lot of extensive playoff experience, but I mean, it's a rough year for Marchessault, and he understands that he needs to do something. He mentioned a lot about taking a look at himself in the mirror in the offseason and reflecting a lot in the offseason and figure out what he can do to turn things around in his own game, and just talk about how he needs to be better, and really opened up about the mental side of it as well. Told Barry Trotz about Barry Trotz. Like, yes, he did tell me, and he's still a player that can offer a lot. Mentioned the kind of analogy of there are some players that can shoot the puck at the net and it doesn't look like it's going in at all, and it goes in. He said Jonathan Marchessault is a guy that shoots the puck in the net and it always looks like it's going to go in, and believes this is a guy that can offer a lot more still towards this team. And Jonathan Marchessault, once again, a guy that, we heard was asked about his teammates moving and his situation during free agency. And he basically said, I'm happy I have a no move clause. Not so much saying that, hey, I'm happy to be here, but more so, hey, I have control of whether I want to be here or not. Said he did have conversations about his contract with Barry Trotz, but kept that private, but mentioned saying, I'm happy I have this no move clause, kind of alluding to the fact that he's happy he has security. He's happy that he can make the decision whether he leaves or not. And that kind of, similar to Steven Stamkos, kind of showcased a little bit more of a mentality of a feel that, hey, they might be looking around, they might be gone in the offseason. So we hear now of, I need to be better for my team. I want to be better for my team. I've got to better for my team and myself, or I'm not going to be helping in any way, period. I want to contribute to this winning effort. And if I continue playing like this, it's not going to happen. But that's what we heard from Jonathan Marchessault. So just another good kind of wrap up to the year. And yeah, I mean, there was many more guys that spoke. We can talk more about these in later episodes because, again, there's nothing going on anymore. So we got to elongate this as much as we can. And if you guys want to hear about what Brady Shea said, I can whip that up and we could go through that as well. Luke Evangelista talked. I know how much everyone loves Luke Evangelista. Matthew Wood. We can go down the line. Philip Forsberg and UC Saros talked. More about Barry Trotz too. Also mentioned in his kind of final thoughts here before we wrap up the episode, Barry Trotz talked about just how important this team is to him. Mentioned he has a tattoo of the Predators logo somewhere on his leg. I don't know where. He wouldn't show it to us, and he said there's only one person that can really see that. But mentioned that, this team is a part of him and he wants to see this team win just as bad as the fans do. And he said it's going to be a massive party when this team gets the opportunity to raise a Stanley Cup down Broadway. So, I mean, just some really good stuff from this team. Looks like they're still having a positive outlook, and it goes into kind of a foggy offseason of just not knowing who the general manager is going to be, when they're going to be hired. I mean, New Jersey had a very quick turnaround to hire their new GM, and the Predators have been sitting on this news since February. It is April now. So we'll see what happens. That's for sure. But that will wrap up this episode, kind of recapping end of the year availability and locker room cleanout. We will not see the Nashville Predators or any sort of Predators action till probably late June, and the draft starting up and rookie camp starting up too. But we'll probably have some news here and there. Hopefully they'll hire a GM by then. But yeah, that's going to do it for me from today. We're going to generate all different story ideas for the rest of April into the summer, and we're going to be in for it for the long haul. We're going to go hard, and we're going to have all different things set up for the summer and Locked On Predators, and making sure that we're all getting through the offseason together. It's going to be a quieter April and May, but hopefully things will kick up in June a little bit more. But again, that will do it for me from today. At Jack G. Williams on Twitter/X, Jack Williams on Hockey News Nashville Predators. If you guys are interested in Locked On Predators, LO_Predators on Twitter/X, Facebook and Instagram. We are just Locked On Predators. Never miss an episode with our Everydare Club. That is ad-free audio, members only Discord access, $5 a month, $50 a year. It's built for our most loyal fans. Grateful for you guys. Thankful for you guys. Definitely not done with this at all. We're still going to be working through Locked On Predators episodes and trying to figure out what to talk about next, having some guests on and getting through the spring here. Got Stanley Cup playoffs on. I have it on my phone right now as I don't know if you see my eyes darting down a little bit. I have the Kings and Colorado on, which should have been the Predators and the Avalanche, but we won't get into that. But thankful for y'all, grateful for y'all. Had a wonderful season here. And yeah, let's gear up for the offseason all together, and tune in for another episode tomorrow of the Locked On Predators podcast.